Nick, good to see you. Good news for all of our seniors out there. They're going to get a big raise in 2026 thanks to a slight increase in the Social Security COLA. The cost of living adjustment will be just under 3%. Before we get into why, there is some misunderstanding around claiming and the COLA. Do you still get the COLA if you wait to claim your benefits?
Yeah, this is a big misconception.
Yeah.
We were talking about it offline before, and this is something that really popped up the last couple times when they've increased the COLA. As people were thinking, oh, I got to turn on Social Security like right this moment so I can
Right.
actually get it. And that's not the case. The COLA is going to be for people who are already getting benefits and also for people not even getting benefits,
Right.
because they're going to look at your benefit, whatever that number was that you were going to get, and they're going to pop that up by whatever that COLA increases, that cost of living adjustment increases. That is. So look at it like Social Security, like it's like a rising tide. If the boat is already in the water by means of you already taking benefits, the rising tide, you're going to rise up with it. And if your boat is not in the water yet, but then you push it out into the water, well, if the water level is already high, it's going to benefit you too. So
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
easiest way to think about it.
Good point. Okay, so now let's get into the why. The consumer price index year over year showed annual inflation increased to 3%. Following that report, the Social Security Administration announced that payments for 75 million Americans will increase 2.8% in 2026. What does this mean for most people?
So for most people, it's about I wrote it down here. It's about a $56 more per month amount. Okay, so and that starts 2026 January right there. So that's roughly about 670, almost $700 more per year. And when you have future, and I know that doesn't sound like much, but when you have future cost of living adjustments, those cost of living adjustments are going to compound on top of that increase too. So that might be a tank of gas, it might be a little bit at the grocery store, maybe a utility bill or something like that happens. The problem here is that 3% increase or 2.8% increase in Social Security is also met with the fact that Medicare is going up. So Medicare in 2025, Medicare premium for Part B cost people $185. And now in 2026, it's going up to $203. So it's an $18 increase. And I have a fancy calculator. And I just want to know, what is that in percentages, because here we have Social Security, it's going up by 2.8%, but how much did Medicare go up? And I have a real fancy calculator, and it's right here. There we go. Fancy calculator, it said Medicare.
That's an analog calculator.
Yes, it's a very analog calculator used with Sharpie marker, but it's increasing 10%. So as I say, the government giveth and the government taketh away.
Yeah, no, that's a really good reminder. So I think that a lot of people wonder if this slight increase in the COLA affects when they should be claiming their Social Security.
No, it's like choosing when to retire based off of a cost of living adjustment at work. You don't do that. You decide when you're going to retire based on your whole paycheck. So claiming is more about how you take Social Security now and how that's going to affect you, now and later. It's not just the small little 3% increase that you have. So what you have here is more of what I'm talking about. It's the whole paycheck. So should you take Social Security at 62 years old or at 62 years old? Well, I don't know. $700 is a lot less than if you waited until, say, 67, where it's $1,000. So that's a 30% increase. I want you to think in percentages for this, because if you think, what out there is going to give you a 30% increase in income? And if we look at it from that lens, then we see the real value of Social Security. So just the 3% increase in cost of living adjustment, that's not a reason to turn it on or not. It's really, how does the whole enchilada affect all of my money and all the money that I've saved?
All right, there was another notable data point from the September CPI report, an adjustment to the Social Security earnings test, which applies to people who claim Social Security
Yeah.
before their full retirement age and while still working. Can you explain what's new here, please?
Well, so the earnings test really kind of stinks. So I want to frame this first before we get into the numbers, just about why this is and what it matters. So let's say you're 62 years old and you decide, I'm going to continue working, but gosh, I've heard on the news that Social Security is going to be bankrupt, and so I better turn it on right now. And you're going to keep working. but you're 62 years old. So you're not at full retirement age, which is 67. Well, here's the problem with that is if you make too much, then you've got to give some of your Social Security benefits back. Now, if you can bring up that slide, now we're going to talk. Now that makes sense, right? So now if we look at this, if you make over $23,480 and you're under the age of 67, so under your full retirement age, actually it's 24,480, excuse me, $24,480. So if you make over that, for every $2 in Social Security you get, you got to give $1 back. Think about that. So if you make $60,000 and you say, I'm going to turn on Social Security just to get Social Security benefits, but I'm going to keep working. Maybe I'm working part-time, whatever. For every $2 you make over $24,480, you got to give $1 back to Social Security. But then what they'll do is they'll say, but we'll give it back to you. But yes, but they'll pay you back a little bit over your lifetime. So it actually is bad. And then if you are in the year that you reach full retirement age, you can earn up to $65,160. And for every $3 you make, you got to give $1 back. So it's like Social Security. They turn the faucet on and then the government comes in and they crimp the hose, right? It's really what happens. And so you just have to don't look at it as I'm eligible to take Social Security at 62 and just turn it on.
Right.
You have to look at, are you planning to work? How much are you going to make working? If you plan to retire and then work maybe part-time or work as a consultant, if you make over $24,480, now you got to give money back. And so you got to be very careful when you plan on retiring and how that works into this picture too, and how much you're going to be making.
Absolutely. So, talking this through with you, Nick, the earnings test, the cost of living adjustment underscore why it usually makes sense to wait to claim Social Security until at least full retirement, if not 70. We kind of touched on it before, but can you explain the math that, the benefit in waiting to claim, please?
Well, so if you look at it, claiming at 62, you actually get a 30% haircut. So your full retirement age. Now, for some people, it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 66 to 67 years old. It's getting closer to 67 because now most of the people that it was 66 and a half, they've already retired. So at 67, let's say that's when you get 100% of what they said they were going to give you. But if you take benefits at 62, it is a 30% haircut. So you're taking less. Now, for every year, now look at 67 on that chart, that means that you get to 100% of the benefit. Now, for every year that you wait past 67, it pops up by 8% per year.
Yeah.
100, 108, 116, 124. So why that's important is, let's say that you were going to get $2,000 a month at full retirement age. If you take at age 62, now you're only getting $1,400 a month. But if you wait until 70, you're not getting $2,000 like you would at age 67. You're now getting $2,500. That's $6,000 more per year.
That's
$60,000 more over 10 years. That's $120,000 more benefits over 20 years. Chances are you're going to live 20 years in retirement. That means you use Social Security by when you turned it on to get an extra 6 figures of income.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get 6 figures of extra income out of the governmental pocket, that means that's 6 figures of money that you didn't have to take out of your investments.
Right.
And so my suggestion is, don't let headlines make that decision. Let math versus your emotion do that decision making for you.
Mm-hmm. Deciding when to claim Social Security is going to be one of the most important financial decisions we make in retirement. Nick, I know this is something you specialize in. So if somebody would like to sit down, have a conversation with you, probably something a little bit more fancy than your analog calculator there, but what's the best way to reach you so they can figure that out?
You really didn't like this?
No, I do like it. It's great.
I know. This is better.
But
this is better, and this is what we use now. But seriously, back in like the 80s, this is what it was. I mean, you had spreadsheets on yellow pads.
I did not. I was never that advanced. I need the help of a calculator.
So trust me, I went into all the computer stuff, and my dad would still say, no, I still like my yellow pad. Yeah. So to each their own, that works. I think the yellow pad was important for me because now I know how I got to the math, and now I know how the answer is right and why it's right. I have a problem with ChatGPT now because people are taking the answer as holy grail without even understanding how did it get to that answer. I
This
would
is a
want to
video
know.
for another time, Nick. You are right.
Yeah, I know, right? So we could just go on and on about that one.
Yes.
But here's the thing: Social Security maximization is important. You can't look at Social Security on an island like it doesn't have anything to do with your finances.
Right.
It does. And so one of the things that we do for people during our on the money retirement reviews is we look at Social Security and try and figure out, are there ways to maximize it and
Right.
optimize it and make it more efficient? And so what people can do is they can go to our website, group10financial.com, and schedule a 15-minute strategy session call where we can iron out Social Security and figure out if there's ways to maximize it, if you're eligible to maximize it, to get more money out of the government's pocket. Because, hey, like I said, if it's not coming out of their pocket, it's coming out of your pocket.
Right.
And I would much rather get it out of their pocket.
Good point. All right, Nick, thank you so much for your help today. I really appreciate it.
Great being with you again.